December 13, 1944. Commander of Allied forces in Europe, Dwight Eisenhower, nearly a decade before he's elected president, issues a press release acknowledging that unidentified objects are interacting with Allied planes called Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters is the name given to strange balls of light that were seen by pilots during the Second World War. Now, if you actually drill down into some of the detailed reports, you see very clearly that some pilots were talking about structured craft. There were sightings from US and UK pilots. So, of course, the thinking was at first this was some sort of Axis secret weapon. Maybe the Nazis or the Japanese had developed something.
Some of these lights would get close enough that they actually seemed to cause engine malfunctions and disturbances until they would move away and often just shoot up into the sky. So the question is, what were these things? To this day, there's not a really clear explanation as to what they were.
With the first sightings of the Foo Fighters, the British, the Americans, they all thought it would be enemy technology. And that scared them because they couldn't outmaneuver these, nor did they have any defense and couldn't shoot them down.
General Eisenhower's office, the Supreme Headquarters, issued a statement that was published in the New York Times stating that the so-called Foo Fighters have created a great deal of concern. It is possibly a new German weapon. At this point, we don't know, but we are taking it seriously, and we're looking into it.
Now, with Eisenhower and the press release that mentioned that the Foo Fighters remained unexplained, that is arguably saying, whatever we're dealing with here, it's real. Now, of course, unexplained doesn't automatically mean it must be extraterrestrial, but nonetheless, it's a fascinating admission.
It seems obvious that Roosevelt would be aware of some of these UFO issues. They would be potentially important if they were enemy weapons. The question is, what did he think about it?
UFO investigators believe the president's thinking is made clear in yet another astonishing memo, never before seen on national television, that he wrote just 2 days after the Battle of LA. It speaks about atomic secrets learned from study of celestial devices and material in possession of the Army that may be of great significance toward the development of a super weapon of war.
The phrase that Roosevelt used in that memo where he describes the necessity or the value in creating a super weapon of war. Of course, we were developing the atomic bomb at that very time. When we're talking about material possession by the Army, we're talking about possession of non-human technology.
Did President Roosevelt keep the truth about UFO encounters from the American people in the name of national security? Researchers say yes, and point to perhaps the most important evidence yet uncovered. A classified memo written by Roosevelt in February 1944, 2 years after the LA events, a previously unknown committee on non-terrestrial science and technology, in which he agrees that non-terrestrial know-how in atomic energy must be used in perfecting super weapons of war to effect the complete defeat of Germany and Japan. Roosevelt also wrote that we should take every advantage of such wonders that have come to us. And he acknowledges the reality that our planet is not the only one harboring intelligent life in the universe.
The double top secret memo, in which he explicitly refers to this as not from our civilization, has been disputed. But these documents were obtained in such a way that makes me think that they are legitimate, that they're real.
Now, when we come to the Roosevelt document that talks about acquiring technology and trying to come to grips with the concept that we might not be alone in the universe, there's no doubt that technology acquisition is something that governments and perhaps presidents have thought about in relation to UFOs.
The president's memo to a committee devoted to science and technology not of this earth suggests that our government was, in fact, in possession of otherworldly technology, and that Roosevelt knew far more about UFOs than he ever let on in public.
Throughout Roosevelt's administration, we know that Roosevelt employed very high security to keep the UFO phenomenon under wraps because it was as classified as the atomic bomb.
The trail of uncovered documents proves to researchers the shocking reality that recovered alien technology helped the U.S. build an atomic superweapon of war. But what will the next president do with this incredible government secret? Coming up.
It was the U.S. military that said, "We've recovered a flying disc."
The evidence is in the form of some leaked documents called the MJ-12 documents.
Under President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the first official government reports of UFO activity became top secret, including one about the interplanetary origin of aircraft in the Battle of LA, and another about a super weapon of war being developed with non-terrestrial know-how. When FDR dies in April 1945, those secrets were passed to Vice President Harry Truman, who assumes the presidency. And just 4 months later, Truman orders the dropping of the atomic bomb on Japan. A new superweapon of unearthly power that documents revealed was developed with technology not of this earth.
The modern UFO phenomenon really began during and in the few years immediately after the Second World War. Why, if there are extraterrestrial intelligences out there, did they suddenly show up during and just after the war? Firstly, we developed and used, in anger, nuclear weapons. And that would be very visible from space. So actually, if nothing else, it's an attention getter.
I think it's definitely likely that mastering nuclear technology is a milestone that would very likely get the attention of any observing intelligence that has the ability to watch us. I mean, a nuclear explosion is a kind of mimicking of the sun, particularly nuclear fusion, and that's an important threshold. So there definitely seems to be a connection there. And I think the explosions in Japan in 1945 could be said to have initiated this new level of interest.